And I think it's important that the younger generation remember these stories and, know what happened and have spoken to the veterans. And George had the opportunity to do that.
At a recent royal event, a quiet royal moment turned into an unforgettable one. Known for being the last to speak and often overshadowed by his outspoken sister, Princess Charlotte, George's public persona has always been more subdued. But a recent moment with a World War II veteran changed that. During a royal tea party, the veteran said something to George that instantly sparked a reaction no one saw coming. What was said to him? And what exactly did Prince George do that left everyone in awe? Join us as we reveal the details of what exactly happened better. This veteran and Prince George.
Which beach?
A remarkable sense of duty. Prince George may still be a child, but he's already capturing public attention in ways that go far beyond his royal title. At just 11 years old, the young prince is quickly becoming known as one of the most outspoken and refreshingly bold voices in the royal family. With his sharp mind, strong personality, and natural curiosity, George often surprises those around him with the kind of questions most adults would hesitate to ask. Some might call his remarks cheeky or even a bit daring, but those close to him understand this is simply who George is: thoughtful, inquisitive, and unafraid to speak his mind. Born into a life of tradition, rules, and global scrutiny, Prince George has never had the luxury of a quiet upbringing. As the future King of England, he has grown up under the watchful eyes of the media and the public. But instead of shying away from the attention, he seems to embrace his role with a mix of seriousness and spark. People often describe him as bright, thoughtful, and impressively mature for his age. While many children are still learning how to express their thoughts, George is already confidently voicing opinions on subjects most kids wouldn't even think about, like the responsibilities of royalty or the weight of the crown he'll one day wear. This deeper, more reflective side of George was beautifully revealed during a moving event at Buckingham Palace. The young prince joined his parents, the Prince and Princess of Wales, as well as other senior royals, at a special tea party held in honor of World War II veterans. The occasion was part of the 80th anniversary commemorations of Victory in Europe Day, marking the historic moment when the war in Europe came to an end. Dressed smartly and standing tall with quiet confidence, George didn't just smile politely and shake hands. He leaned in, made eye contact, and asked questions. Real questions that showed he was genuinely curious about what these veterans had lived through. "How old were you when you served?" he reportedly asked one guest. A question so simple and innocent, yet so powerful in its intent. It wasn't just small talk. George truly wanted to understand. For the veterans, many of whom are now in their 90s or even over 100, George's interest was deeply touching. Here was a young royal, part of the generation farthest removed from the horrors of global war, eager to learn, to listen, and to remember. His presence at the event was both symbolic and meaningful. He represented not just the future of the monarchy, but the bridge between past and present, a reminder that the stories of sacrifice and bravery must never fade away with time. The tea party was just one of several royal appearances commemorating VE Day. From solemn church services at Westminster Abbey to emotional moments shared with veterans and their families, the royal family made it clear that remembrance is not just tradition, it's a duty. And Prince George, in his own quiet and curious way, took up that duty with surprising grace. In many ways, George's behavior that day said more than any royal speech could. He reminded everyone watching that true leadership begins not with giving commands, but with listening, learning, and showing respect. His natural engagement and thoughtful questions left an impression, not just on the veterans, but on all who saw a glimpse of the king he may one day become. Beneath the weight of royal duties and public expectations, who is Prince George as an individual? The adventurous young royal with big dreams. Prince George is growing up to be a bold and curious young royal. At a tender age, He's already experienced a colorful life, like joining his parents on royal trips around the world and picking up fun new hobbies along the way. One of his newest passions is scuba diving. During a recent chat with British Olympians Adam Peaty and Tom Dean, Prince William proudly shared that George has taken a liking to diving underwater. It seems George is quickly falling in love with the magical world beneath the waves. This shouldn't be a surprise. Both of his parents enjoy being in the water, and William himself is a skilled scuba diver. Like father, like son, George has also shown a strong interest in flying. In 2024, he began taking flying lessons at White Waltham Airfield in Berkshire. With his parents watching from the ground, George soared into the skies alongside an instructor. George's love for flying goes way back. Even as a toddler, he was fascinated by airplanes. He once joined his mother, Princess Catherine, at a special ceremony honoring the 75th anniversary of the Royal Air Force's Air Training Corps. At that event, Kate told a cadet that George was obsessed with the air cadets and dreamed of joining one day. He's even sat in the cockpit of a Red Arrows plane with his dad, flashing a proud smile for the cameras. Alongside his exciting hobbies, George is also a caring older brother to Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. As the oldest child in the Wales family, he takes his role seriously, growing into a responsible and thoughtful young man. One day he's expected to be king, and that's no small thing. In 2022, Kate and William finally told George about his future. They gently explained what it means to be a future king and reassured him that they would always be there to support him. George handled it like a pro. According to a source, his first question was whether he'd still be able to go to football games when he is king, which gave his parents a much-needed laugh. Even though George always knew he came from a special family, his parents tried to give him a normal and happy childhood. He goes to school with kids from wealthy families, but none of them are getting royal box seats at football or rugby matches like George does. One of his biggest passions is football. He and his dad are huge fans, and in May 2024, the father-son duo attended the English FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium. Dressed in matching suits and enjoying the game side by side, the two looked like best friends. He's a curious young royal with big dreams, but what do people really think about his attitude? A thoughtful young royal. Even though he is the grandson of the king and the future heir to the throne, Prince George shows signs of being more shy and thoughtful than many expected. His personality seems closer to that of his grandfather, King Charles III, than to his father, Prince William. King Charles, despite now being the most powerful royal in Britain, faced many hard times growing up. As a young boy, he felt lonely and often craved attention from his busy mother, Queen Elizabeth II. He was quiet, gentle, and struggled to fit in. At school, he was picked on and left out, which made things even harder for the sensitive young prince. Prince William, on the other hand, has always seemed full of boldness and energy. From a young age, William showed confidence. According to body language expert Judy James, he was fearless, even as a baby. She described how baby William once crawled away from his parents during a photo session, heading straight toward a crowd of photographers without fear. As he grew older, William seemed determined, even standing his ground with his father when they disagreed. Prince George, however, appears to be taking a different path. He often looks more cautious and careful. Judy James explained that George doesn't seem to enjoy being in the royal spotlight the way William once did. Instead of jumping into the center of attention, George tends to quietly step back and let his younger siblings, especially his confident sister Princess Charlotte, shine in public. This thoughtful and quiet nature makes George stand out in a family full of big personalities. While Charlotte waves to crowds with ease and Prince Louis makes playful faces, George watches calmly, taking everything in. According to James, he seems to be someone who thinks deeply before acting. He looks like he's always trying to understand a situation fully before joining in. So far, George does not show the same level of competitiveness or leadership energy that his father displayed at a young age. But that doesn't mean he won't grow into his role. His gentle and observant nature could one day make him a thoughtful and caring king, much like his grandfather has become. Every royal child is different, and George's journey is just beginning. While he may not be the loudest or boldest member of the royal family, his calm presence and serious thinking could be just what the monarchy needs in the future. Sometimes, the quiet ones leave the strongest impression. What other traits does he share with King Charles III? A quirky legacy of mannerisms and bold opinions. King Charles III is a monarch known for his unique quirks and distinctive mannerisms, many of which have captivated the public for decades. One of his most notable habits is keeping his hands in his pockets, often accompanied by the fidgeting of his cufflinks. For years, these behaviors were seen as a sign of nervousness or a lack of confidence, particularly before his ascension to the throne. There are even rumors that he hides his hands due to being self-conscious about his swollen fingers. Whatever the reason, these idiosyncrasies have become part of his royal persona, intriguing people around the world. Interestingly, Charles' distinct mannerisms appear to have been present from a young age. In 2016, Prince William and Prince Harry revisited old footage of their childhood as part of the BBC documentary
He tried to do my house of Harry Doctor House.
Elizabeth at 90, a family tribute. Watching a young Charles toddle around, both brothers were struck by how much he resembled Prince George. "He walks like George," Harry observed, and William quickly agreed. They noted that the pair shared a purposeful stride, almost as if the grandfather and grandson were walking in the same deliberate manner. Whether George will continue to adopt his grandfather's quirky traits as he grows older remains to be seen. While it's unclear if George will one day carry the same habit of keeping his hands in his pockets, what is evident is that these two share a unique connection, brimming with similarities. Their mannerisms and personality traits seem to run in the family, making them delightful mirrors of each other in both their quirks and their royal responsibilities. In addition to their shared physical traits, both Charles and George share an unafraid stance when it comes to speaking their minds. While Prince William, known for his reserved nature, typically refrains from political commentary, King Charles has never been one to shy away from expressing his opinions. Long before he became king, Charles was outspoken about his views on important political and social issues. His willingness to share his thoughts often created controversy, especially when he attempted to influence government policies. For example, in 2022, Charles criticized the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, calling the scheme appalling. In contrast to his father, Prince William has generally kept his views under wraps, despite facing backlash for avoiding an apology over Britain's colonial history during a visit to Jamaica in 2022. While William maintains a public image of neutrality, he has hinted at becoming more vocal about his beliefs as he ascends the royal ranks. This contrasts sharply with Charles, whose opinions have always been part of his royal identity. As Prince George grows, however, it seems that he may be following in his grandfather's footsteps, growing more confident and assertive. A source close to the royal family revealed in 2022 that George's confidence had increased dramatically. His confidence has grown leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, they shared. He is assertive, self-assured, and knows what he wants, and doesn't hold back on speaking his mind. This transformation from a shy child into a more outspoken young royal is a fascinating development, especially considering the strong influence of his grandfather, King Charles. Just as King Charles once navigated royal life with his own set of unique quirks and opinions, it seems that Prince George is carving out a similarly bold path for himself. While George may still be young, his growing confidence and willingness to speak up suggest that he will undoubtedly continue to embody the best of both his royal legacy and his own individuality. Let's explore Prince George's relationship with his siblings and how it compares to the bond between King Charles and Princess Anne. The royal sibling pattern repeats. The bond between King Charles III and his younger sister, Princess Anne, has always been a bit unusual. One of the most curious things about their relationship is how Anne, despite being the younger sibling, often took charge. Even as kids, It seemed like Anne was the one in control, not Charles. Princess Anne had a bold and fearless personality. While Charles was shy and quiet, Anne acted like she was the one meant to rule Britain. She was known to be bossy, taking toys and attention for herself without hesitation. According to royal author Ingrid Seward, Anne would snatch anything she wanted, including whatever her older brother had. Charles, being the gentler and more sensitive sibling, rarely pushed back. He often gave in to his sister's strong will. It was as if Anne naturally became the leader between the two, and Charles simply accepted it. Fast forward to the present, and history seems to be repeating itself with a new generation of royals. Prince George is also growing up with a strong-willed sister, Princess Charlotte. Though George is the future king, it's Charlotte who often steals the spotlight with her spirited and confident attitude. She's already known for being clever, sassy, and full of energy.
But applying to Chelmsford, it is very much about a title with a future.
Just like Anne did with Charles, Charlotte seems to enjoy taking charge. She's comfortable waving to crowds, posing for photos, and jumping into the center of attention, something George is still learning to enjoy. Parenting expert Joe Frost even pointed out the unique bond between the royal siblings. Charlotte knows how to keep everyone in line, she said. There are moments when I've seen George glance over at his sister, maybe a little annoyed, but also thankful she's there to remind him of what's going on. It's clear that Charlotte, like Anne before her, brings a bold spark to the royal family. George, meanwhile, is more thoughtful and reserved, much like his grandfather Charles. While he may not be as quick to take charge, his calm and serious nature shows signs of future wisdom and maturity. Siblings like Charlotte and Anne may be bossy, but they also offer support, confidence, and energy. And while George might sometimes feel overshadowed, he has the quiet strength of someone who thinks before he speaks, a trait that can be just as powerful as being bold. Now let's take a closer look at a common trait passed down through generations. What could this enduring characteristic be? A shared shyness across generations. Even though Prince George is growing up in a very different time than his grandfather, King Charles III, the two royals seem to share a quiet, more sensitive side that sets them apart from others in the royal family. While their surroundings and upbringings are worlds apart, their personalities, especially during childhood, have quite a lot in common. In 2017, when George began school, the world got a small but powerful glimpse into the young prince's emotional side. On his very first day, little George looked nervous and unsure. He stayed close to his father, Prince William, holding tightly onto his hand and avoiding eye contact with anyone else. It was clear that, despite being a royal, George felt the same kind of first-day jitters as many children do, and it didn't get easier right away. Just 3 weeks into the school year, Prince William revealed that George was still having a hard time settling in. During a visit to Milton Keynes, William admitted to a locale that his son wasn't enjoying school. This quiet and cautious nature may remind many of King Charles during his own school days. Charles, as a boy, was also reserved and often overwhelmed by his surroundings. When he was sent to the prestigious and strict Gordonstoun boarding school in Scotland, he had a hard time fitting in. A former classmate, Johnny Staunborough, remembered the future king looking terrified on his very first day.
And they painted everything, and there were lots of new rules because...
He was very shy and withdrawn, Staunborough said in an interview. He sometimes seemed lonely and isolated. It took a while to get to know him. Charles was also bullied during his school years, something that clearly scarred him. This makes the connection between him and George even more touching, because George, too, seems to understand the pressure of being in the spotlight and being different from his classmates. One recent moment really brought this similarity to light. In 2023, during King Charles's coronation, Prince George was given a special role as one of the pages of honor. While this was a proud moment for the royal family, it wasn't an easy one for George. He was anxious about the outfit he had to wear, especially the traditional white breeches and tights. George worried that his classmates might tease him for it. Wanting to support his grandson, Charles showed understanding and warmth by changing the uniform. Instead of the usual breeches, George was allowed to wear more modern pants. It was a small change, but a meaningful gesture that showed Charles's deep empathy for what George was feeling. These shared experiences reveal something powerful about both Charles and George. Though they are part of a famously formal and traditional family, both have shown that emotions, sensitivity, and kindness matter. Charles, once the lonely little boy at boarding school, now understands his grandson's worries and supports him in ways he may not have supported himself. Prince George may one day become king, just like his grandfather.
That by your service and ministry to all your people.
And if he does, he will carry with him not just the crown, but the strength that comes from growing up with quiet courage, and a grandfather who understands exactly how that feels. Aside from his strong resemblance to his grandfather, Prince George also openly admires him and follows in his footsteps. But how exactly is he doing that? Following in Grandpa Charles's footsteps. King Charles is well known for his love of gardening, a passion that has made him somewhat of a legend in horticulture circles. Back in 1986, the king made headlines when he admitted that he talks to his plants. While it's still a mystery whether Prince George also holds conversations with his plants, it's clear that the young prince has inherited his grandfather's deep love for the natural world and gardening. From an early age, Charles began introducing George to the joys of planting. The two have shared special moments in the garden, with Charles explaining his approach to encouraging young ones to take an interest in growing things. It's heartwarming to think of George and his grandfather bonding over nature, planting trees together, and watching them grow over time. One of George's favorite places to visit is Charles' beloved Highgrove Garden, where he enjoys not just playing but also helping his grandfather tend to the plants. This beautiful garden is more than just a place to relax. It's a space where Charles shares his passion for horticulture with his family, passing down knowledge and creating lasting memories.
It's been planted already.
George has shown a clear love for the garden, and it's easy to imagine how these experiences have shaped his budding interest in the natural world. In 2019, when his mother, Princess Catherine, designed a stunning garden for the Chelsea Flower Show, George was absolutely captivated by the creation. In fact, he loved it so much that he rated it a perfect 20 out of 10, a sign of his excitement and admiration for the beauty his mother had crafted. His enthusiasm for nature and the environment continues to grow, with gardening becoming an important activity in his life. The year 2020 brought more moments of George and his family getting their hands dirty in the garden. In the documentary, Prince William, A Planet for Us All, George was seen working alongside his sister, Princess Charlotte, in the garden. That year, Princess Catherine revealed that her children had been participating in a friendly sunflower growing competition. What's in store for Prince George as he grows into his royal role? How will his family's influence define his future as king? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.